Welcome to the Casual Adventure Notes podcast, the CAN podcast, lazy, easy listening about little life's adventures
And lessons.
I'm Doz.
And I'm Devy.
Welcome to another week. Let's kick things off with our palate cleanser today. Which one should we do?
Let's do psychology because it's on top of the pile.
I think you're biased towards one, but that's okay.
I'm just a very more, deep person. Appreciate
Sure.
Things around the mind. I'm going to choose a number.
51. I think we need to get to a point where we start tabbing which ones we've done so we don't get lost. But that requires dedicating time to actually sit aside, flip through the episodes and tag whatever one we've heard because I definitely do not remember.
Yes. And neither do I. This one's actually just a quote. So very straightforward. The quote is, to be stupid, selfish, and have good health are three requirements for happiness, though if stupidity is lacking, all is lost. That is a quote from, God, I can't pronounce this person's name, Gustav Flaubert. So I'll repeat that again. To be stupid, selfish, and have good health are three requirements for happiness, though if stupidity is lacking, all is lost.
What? If stupidity is lacking, all is lost.
Yeah. So it's saying that it's sort of saying that you won't be able to be selfish and have good health if you aren't stupid. This is very confusing.
Is it kind of like the same thing as ignorance is bliss? Like that same methodology? Like the idea of the less you know, the more naive you can be.
The more happy you are.
Kinda. Like
your
if
problems are more simple.
Yeah, I think regardless of what age you are right now, I think if you think back a couple years to your younger self, life was kind of simpler back then. But at the point in time of living it, it's not. But in hindsight, it is. But it's kind of playing on that idea. It's the less you know, sometimes that makes life easier and simpler.
Okay, that makes sense. But what has this got to do with health? How is being stupid mean you have good health?
Maybe it's because it's like a psychology book. It's more about mental health. So it's not overthinking and getting paranoid. Okay.
It's not fitness or something related, like physical health.
No, it's a psychology book. I had an example in my head and now I forgot.
How about selfish then? How is it to be not stupid? To be smart is to be not selfish. To be stupid, you are selfish.
To be stupid, you are selfish. I think that kind of makes sense because if you're playing ignorance, then that's sometimes a choice. And sometimes, for example, if you're arguing with someone, you are making a conscious decision not to try to understand their point of view or have empathy in that point of time. And technically that is a selfish decision in that moment because you are making a decision that benefits you more than the other person is my interpretation of something like that.
Okay, that sounds plausible. I'll accept that.
Not that I had to justify it. I didn't write the quote or the book.
No, but maybe it's up to interpretation as well.
Yeah.
But I just couldn't interpret anything. Anyway, I've actually just mixed them up. So then next episode we will do a non-psychology lesson. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
Because I'm just thinking about it. If you think about it, kids are the most innocent. And the reason they're so innocent is because they haven't been exposed by too much of the cruel world. Yes, faith in humanity does exist when you see certain moments, but sometimes when you just learn about the grim part of the world, it just makes you a bit
What? It makes you a bit
Like
That's true. Maybe the people that are the most intelligent are the most depressed, and sometimes it's associated with the people that constantly think about how life is finite and that we will all be dead and deceased. Life is we're not immortal, like your fictional characters that you've talked about previously. But yeah, and I think if you kind of think about that, that gets very depressing because you're like, God, counting down the days or years. And funny, actually, I say that because there's actually I saw on Pinterest or not Pinterest,
Pinterest?
not Pinterest, Pinterest.
What's Pinterest?
It's the copy version of Pinterest.
There's a copy version of Pinterest?
No, I just made that up. I obviously don't know how to say it. That's why I said Pinterest. It's Pinterest. That makes no sense. What's that? God, I can't remember. What's that online store that always sells homemade knickknacks?
Etsy.
I remember browsing on Etsy and I saw these death calendars where it's you have the average lifespan of a human, and then every day you have to X each day it goes past.
I've seen that too.
I always thought that was really, very grim and depressing. But I get the purpose is to sort of make, I guess,
just life's too short.
Yes.
Don't take it for granted. Live your best life.
But also have goals and try to meet them because the time's running out. Yeah, exactly.
Well, I always say there's all these other quotes online, the things that you remember after, the things that people remember about you after you die isn't how hard you worked. It's other things. So I think it's kind of playing around that idea that life is more than just I don't know, the practical things you need to actually live life, funnily enough, but whatever. That theme is actually, I spoke about a few episodes ago about a book series called Atlas, and the Atlas Six series. I don't know what the actual series is called. That's the first book, but the themes around that is about kind of that. It's one of the themes is tossing around the idea that the more you know, the more intelligent you are, on paper, sometimes it's detrimental to your health. So in the Atlas 6, so every 10 years, they find the brightest, most powerful people in the world. So think about it, they're the most smart, they know the most. And then in the book, when you read about them, they're such broken humans at a psychological level, and they all need therapy because they know too much and they start questioning about life and stuff like that. So it kind of, I think that is a theme. There must be a study out there that kind of suggests that
associates intelligence with your
depression.
level of
or sadness. Bit grim, but relevant to our main course today, actually, because I have a story and it's around the moment you think you might die and what, I don't know, just those moments and what you kind of think about and whatever, because it's happened to me very recently. So I took a car sharing ride. I'm trying not to say the company's name. I took a car ride sharing service home one night, after a night out or whatever, pretty normal. And a lot of the car sharing ride, I can't even say that word in a full sentence. Car ride sharing apps, a lot of those have been designed now where they prioritize safety. I mean, they've kind of evolved, and this model works because of the idea is both identities, both the driver and the rider. You have to prove your identity, so that's already a thing. There's a rating system, there's reviews and stuff like that to kind of promote that trust, right? So that's there, but there's still scary situations. I haven't heard that many scary stories about it, but I experienced something the other day which ended up being harmless. And I'm obviously okay because I'm sitting here right now. But what happened was like I was heading home and I took one of these rides by myself, and it's quite late at night. And I was a bit tired, you know, I've had some drinks, and I called my ride. My driver arrived and I got into the car. I was like, oh, hi, it's like Doz. And then he's like, yep. And then really abruptly, like, hey, he goes, so how much is it charging you to like get home? And I was like, oh, I don't know. Like, and I just like put a range. I was like, I don't know, like $30 to $50, somewhere around there. And he's like, oh, but how much is it exactly? And I was like, I don't know. I didn't really pay attention, and it's not on the screen anymore. He's like, you can see. And he was kind of like, it was a bit aggressive. And I did like have a 5-second thing where I was like, should I just leave now and like cancel the ride and report him? But I was still on a very public main road. So I did like the mental things, and I was like, I really want to get home. Plus his car was very nice. So it would have been really comfortable. So part of me was also just like, it would have been a nice ride. And I was like, and I know for a fact that there's just a lot of drivers frustrated about the share they get from how much they get charged at the moment, like how much percentage of the cut they make. Yeah. So I assume he was just like trying to figure it out and to see if it's like true based on the thing. Like I gave him the benefit of the doubt. And then I just said, no, like, I don't know. And he's like, I can show you on the screen. And then I have one of, on my phone, I have a thing that's like around my arm. So it's like really hard to snatch. So I left it on my arm. I was like, okay, you can like, I held it up in front of him by having the thing attached so he can't like take my phone.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, fine, you can check. But I was kind of like watching him do it. And then he did, like all he did was literally like click the ... to like check how much it is. And he's like, oh, it's like $55 or whatever. And he goes, can you bank transfer me that instead of going through the app? And I was just like, no. And he's like, no, it's safe. I'll still take you home. Like I can see this is where you live. Like I'll get you home, but can you just direct transfer because you know they take too much of the cut. So it kind of like aligned with what I was thinking in my head. I was like, oh no, I prefer to keep it in the app because you know, it's just better. And he's like, oh, no, like it's 100% safe. I was like, yeah, but it's safer in the app. Like I literally said that to him. I was like, it's safer in the app. I've shared my ride with multiple people. So I prefer to keep it in the app. He's like, you can call who you, like he's basically like kind of arguing me on the spot, like trying to like give me a reason to transfer him direct instead of going through the app. And he's like, and you won't get charged because I'll cancel first and then you cancel and we can just like have an excuse for a reason and they won't charge you. And I was just like, yeah, no. But the scary part, so the reason why it scared me was because I was thinking like, if I wasn't that alert in that moment and I have a personality where I am actually okay, like being confrontational and talking back, that could have ended poorly because I was thinking how, like, if that happened to me 10 years ago, I might have felt pressured to, like, transfer the money in, like, the moment of stress. Like, when you're confronted with, like, a stressful situation, sometimes you can't think clearly and you end up doing stupid things, right?
Yeah, that's quite common. Yes.
Yeah, so I almost did. And I basically got, like, angry. And then I just said, okay, fine. Like, if you want to cancel, you can cancel and I will just call another ride. And then, like, it ended up fine. Like, he was like, no, it's fine. Let's just keep it in the app. I'll take you home. It's fine. It's chilled. And then I'm like, I did, again, contemplate it. I had a moment where I was like, maybe I should just cancel and report him. But he had a really high rating, pretty good reviews. The car was nice. And I honestly just wanted to get home. Like, it was just late. And I was like, I already shared my ride. My friend was still kind of waiting for me to get in the car. So she's like watching as well. So I felt like I had my like dots on my eyes and my T's crosses and stuff like that. So I was like, worst case scenario, something happens to me, at least it'll be easy to track.
Easy to catch the perpetrator, yeah.
And then I also made a mental plan of how I would escape and stuff as well. So anyways, long story short, got into the car. I'm okay, obviously, like I got home and it was okay in the end. I rated him really low and I And he was trying to be like extra nice to me when I got in the car. And he tried to like explain how like a lot of drivers are doing it at the moment. They're going on strike because they think like the percentage is unfair, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, look, I agree. Like, you know, you probably do deserve more money, like cost of living crisis, et cetera, et cetera. And I said, the best thing I can do to you is write an angry email to corporate. And that's all I'm doing because in this context, I am just a writer. And then I basically like kind of pushed him to not have a conversation with me after him trying to justify. And I was just like messaging people and stuff like, I'll save. But like, that's just like one example. And in that moment, in my head, it was kind of weird because I was, I came to the conclusion that I would have been okay if I was in danger and as a worst case scenario, I felt like it could be tracked. And it was kind of weird because I was thinking about, I was like, if I died, I think the worst possible outcome is there wouldn't be closure for those who love me and care about me. I think that would be worse than, well, obviously it's like sad if you lose anyone, but like imagine not knowing where they went and stuff like that.
Those missing people cases that haven't still been solved. And so the families are like holding on to the hope that, you know, that loved one is still existing somewhere, but, you know, sometimes it's best to just know for sure and then be able to sort of move on with your life.
Yeah.
Although with that situation, like if you did sort of go ahead and then cancel you, or he cancelled the ride and then took you home and you transferred him the money, technically you would be able to directly track which account that was transferred to. So the police would be able to find
based on that logic.
Yeah. Because it's assuming you're transferring it to his account and not some random.
Yeah, that feels like a higher risk.
Yeah. But then because, you know, when you create a bank account, you need to provide identification. So if he's giving you the legit account and then he happens to do, you know, something sinister, technically then he's given away himself because then, you know, the police will just kind of go to the bank.
Probably.
Or the last transaction. Similar, you know, how they go through call logs and latest transactions to sort of figure out what's happened. And then they'll be, oh, hang on, there's this money transferred here. But again, like you said, in the moment, you probably like, your natural instinct is to think this is a very strange arrangement. The reason I'm using this service is because it's trackable and I can share my location. And, you know, if there is an issue, there is someone that you can report that issue to.
Yeah, there's a system, a structure, a process, all that's in place that you feel better about it. And that's not even the first story I have about ride sharing apps. The other one I had was one time I was already in a ride home, again alone. And after these two incidents,
You're
I actually
alone a lot, aren't you?
I'm not alone a lot. Well, that's the funny thing. I actually don't really take rides home alone often. And then these, like, the few times I have, like, things like this happen, and it reminds me why I don't want to.
To go out at night.
In general. No, so this other time I was already on my way home and I was pretty tired. So I guess I quieted down. Like I stopped having conversations with the driver and I was just like chilling and waiting to get home. And I didn't say anything, but I noticed that he kept taking like off routes. And I was like, oh, like that's annoying. And then I just thought like, oh, traffic or whatever. But I didn't say anything because I was too tired and I just like left it. And we're still heading to the direction to my destination. So it wasn't a big deal, even though it was like a lot of detours. But then he started doing more of it. And then he started detouring into like secluded dark areas. And I was like, oh my God, is this when I die? And then I was like aggressively like texting all my friends and loved ones, like telling them where I was, like pinning them. I was in the app. So my location was live and stuff like that. So it wasn't like that big of a deal. But like if I'm in a secluded dark area, in my head, I was like, okay, even if I escape now, it's dark and secluded. How fast can I run? Can I outrun him? Can I outrun the car if he's in the car? Should I try to steal the car? Like I was going through so many scenarios in my head of what I could have done. And I basically, in in that moment when I realized how many times he was doing it and he was in a secluded area, as soon as we got back onto a main road, like I had made a plan in my head. I'm like, if we're still in a secluded area for another 3 minutes, then I'll try to like jump out of the car and run. And then I was like, but if we get into a main road, then I'm going to say something and ask like when we're getting home. So then he stops taking detour.
Was this on another like ride sharing app?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
That's
then
like, again, like, I mean, it's all traceable GPS. Like, if the person's like, can put 1 and 2 together, like they wouldn't be doing anything as a driver under that app, because as soon as something happens to the person, and the partner or the family's like, yep, they're coming home, and then they go through the apps again, it's very easy to link it to people.
I assumed it's because he thought I was like dozing off or something and he could take advantage of it, like trying to get more money from the ride. That's my assumption now that I'm out of it.
Yeah.
It's not fixed. It's like it's mostly fixed, but then there's like an asterisk to be like, if it's like significantly more time or distance grows, then they can charge you more.
But then wouldn't not Uber, but any sort of car riding, like the head office would be like, well, why is this person doing all these weird like roundabouts?
Well, they wouldn't check unless you prompt it.
Ah, okay.
Which I did, and I got a full refund, so it was fine. But like they wouldn't check. And like normally if you're on your way home or whatever, it's not that common for you the next day to check if you like went through the right route. Like you don't check your previous trip. Like that's not a common thing.
Yeah, I know. It's unless it's like a really like triggering issue, or you're just feeling like a Karen that day,
just doing your audit
when you're getting
when you're just review.
Really pissy in a bad mood and you get really bad customer service, you're like, screw it, I'm gonna write like a bad review. Yes, yeah. Most times you just kind of like let it slide, but yes, assumingly after you got back on the main road, you got home.
Yes, so
normal.
So what happened was he got onto the main road before the 3 minutes was up in my head. So then I just said, "Oh, are we long?" Like, "Are we long?" And then like suddenly it was like a direct route home. So I was like, "Okay, sus, whatever." And then I reported straight away.
So I think that used to happen a lot with taxis because there was no like tracking or app. It was just like you hop in a cab and then they take you home, and then they might do something that just dependent on the rider to be like, oh, take this route, it's quicker, etc.
I've actually had better experiences in taxis. Like before ride sharing apps thing, every time I took a cab, it's been a better experience. Although most of the time I've taken a cab has always been with groups of people.
I found like back before all the car riding apps, like cabs were like sometimes really selective of like the riders and like who they wanted to take depending on where you wanted to go. And so they will literally like tell you, no, I'm not going there. And so it was really quite frustrating. And that's when it was really great when all the car riding share apps, because technically they would just source a person that was obviously interested or wanted to go. Although no, I feel like in most cases there's always a number of cars that will go everywhere. Yeah. So you didn't have to find a cab driver to go to your specific destination. The car riding app would do that for you and just source one.
Yes, that's the only disadvantage of the taxis back in the day. It was that. I just remember on like a Friday night, Saturday night, they wouldn't take intoxicated people. They asked you where you're going. If the distance was too short, they wouldn't take you. It was pretty annoying.
Yeah, it was, yes. And I think that's where like car riding apps have done a really sort of solid for those people.
Yeah. Get home now.
But now they have that isn't there like a specific car riding app that is for women only?
Yeah, but it doesn't have a lot of drivers, so it doesn't do well. So there is an app.
That whole concept sounds very
desirable.
Yeah, like something that would work really well. Similar to like in Japan, for example, where they have like female only train carriages. Like they're sort of worked really well for Japan. But I'm surprised at that. What was it called? I remember seeing the ads for it.
What?
Female car riding.
It's I don't know if it's just in Australia, but it's called Sheba.
Sheba, that's it.
I don't know if it's still around, but it's solving the right problem. So it was supposed to be all women's driver and catered for women's need. So it meant like it would prioritize like mothers. So if you needed like a baby's car seat and stuff like that, like it would always come with that.
Yeah.
They would have options for bigger cars so you could fit things into it and stuff like that. Like the concept was good. It was a little bit higher price because you're paying for that service, but I don't think it took off because operationally it was challenging to execute because how are you going to source all those drivers and all those requirements? Like unless you're hiring them, like unless you're hiring people like back in the days with taxis where you actually just have employees that are just like wandering around. So the issue was that you would try to call a ride and it would be like 20 minutes away, which is not what you want when you call a Lyft.
Yeah, you kind of want it like within at max like 5 minutes.
Yeah. But some of the bigger car sharing apps now, like your Uber and stuff like that, there's actually more choices now. So you can select, I need a baby seat and stuff like that. So it's actually become a little bit more inclusive as well. I think technically it would be sexist to like be able to choose your driver and stuff like that. So I don't think it's taken it that far, but yeah.
Discrimination against
which is like fair, right? Because they put every other, like all their other features in the app is designed to eliminate those other options. Like, because like if a woman wants a woman's driver, the general thing is probably to do with safety. And then like Uber pride themselves on putting like safety measures in place. Like there's even a one-click emergency thing to alert Uber and stuff now.
Oh, that's good.
That's like easily accessible and stuff like that. So it's good. So yeah, it's a fine line. Like the stories, like technically the stories I just told, nothing actually came out of it. Like I was safe. It was just a crappy situation. Like
a high heart rate sort of moment.
Yeah. And then like the lessons from it happening a couple of times for me is now I just am very reluctant to ever really ride alone. I always prefer to ride with others, at least part way, or try to organize a lift from someone I know.
Yeah.
Or drive in myself. So that's the lesson there. But I've had the other kind of like near-death experience that I've had in my life that I felt like shaped part of who I am. I have this very like vivid memory of almost drowning when I was younger. And I don't know how common this is. I don't know if a lot of kids like have a like near drowning experience that they really remember. I remember going to the pool with all my cousins and stuff like that, and I don't know how to swim yet. And I was really supposed to just stay in the shallow end or like had someone with me the whole time. And I was too young to remember. And I'm sure someone was actually supervising me and didn't think I was drowning because someone did pull me out by the end. And it wasn't like dire where I like was unconscious or anything like that. But I basically wandered into the deeper end where I couldn't touch my feet anymore. So I was underwater and I couldn't get back up. So I was like splashing around. And I just genuinely remembering drowning and like feeling like I was going to die. I don't know how long passed. And then one of my oldest cousins literally just like picked me up. It was like, oh, what are you doing there? And like, put me back into the shallow end. And it could have only been a couple of seconds for all I know. But to me, it was a traumatic experience. Why are you laughing?
I was just trying to imagine you drowning, like as an adult for some reason, even though you said you're a kid in a
like
pool.
5.
And I'm like, most pools you can probably like walk in, but obviously you're fine. Sorry, keep going.
No,
I apologize.
I was like 5, to be fair.
Yeah.
Oh my god. So.
Oh, no, poor Doz.
Shut up. Oh, shut it. Yeah, no, like I felt like I was almost drowning and I was only 5 then. I think I'm pretty sure. Like I was pretty young. But I think I was like scared to go into the water for a little bit. But I was like a big water person when I was younger because like I went to the beach a lot and we went to like the local pool and community pools a lot. So like I couldn't avoid it. Like my parents were really the type of parents who are like, why are you scared of the water? And just like kind of like pushed me in kind of thing. And I was like, oh, okay. So I kind of survived it. But then I got like this paranoia about water. And then eventually like my mum put me into swimming lessons. And my mum always tells me, out of all my siblings, I learnt how to swim the fastest and the best. Like out of all the siblings, I was the best swimmer. Like I like picked it up so fast. I like finished like in swimming lessons, like you have levels and there's a max level you can get. And then after you complete your thing, then you have the option if you want to swim like competitively, like they put you into like squads to like train to like try to swim in competition. So I finished the thing and they're like, do you want to like swim competitively? And then I think like I did like 2 training sessions and I was like, no, I don't want to commit to this. But my point is that near-death experience and that traumatic experience literally influenced me to be a good swimmer because I don't think I would have been as good as I'm not like I said,
I've never seen you swim.
Well, I can swim very well. I don't swim often anymore, so I can't say like don't compare me to someone who swims competitively or whatever. but I can swim, and I'm just saying when I learned to swim, I picked it up really fast and I like excelled at it. Like even to the point where in school, when swimming became just like a thing that you did in school, like they put me in the highest bracket and they're like, oh, okay, she can swim really well.
That's pretty good because you're kind of stereotyping Asians. Most can't swim, including myself.
You should learn how to swim. There's so much water in Australia. That's actually why my mum put us into swimming lessons because she's like, you're going to be surrounded by water all the time.
But I mean, you're surrounded by a lot of things, but you know, unless there's going to be some major natural disaster of flooding in nature. Well, actually that does happen, but not in a very major city like where we live. But yes, I can't actually I can't swim. So if I was to go in a pool, I would just be in the very shallow end walking around.
You know how to float?
Yes, I did. I recently learned how to do that.
Well, that's something. That's the first thing you learn.
But I'm not really into water, like pools, beaches, or anything like that. So it's not like I would be doing that leisurely. The only time I've done that was like you said, sort of forced sort of school swim training, and then after that, never sort of stepped in another pool again. Yeah,
I do actually really like water. I wish I swim more these days, but I don't. I'm not as active as I used to be compared to when I was younger in terms of like going to the beach as often and stuff. And I think it's just like because I've become more high maintenance and I just a little bit lazy as well. Because a few years ago, I used to dye my hair often, whether it be like fun colors or very light. And going into water like ruins that. And I was like, oh, I don't want to spend so much on my hair and then ruin it. And then I never really like went underwater that often. And then that was a few years. So that's minus a few years. And then when my hair is dark again and it's like okay to kind of go underwater and stuff like that, what deters me is I don't want to wash my hair because if you go underwater, you have to wash your hair because it gets dirty. Like whether it be in the pool with chlorine or in salt water, right? Like you have to wash your hair. And I was like, oh, I don't want to wash my hair that often.
Even going to the beach, sand is like the most annoying thing because it just gets everywhere and it just takes ages to clean out. So it's a bit of a hassle.
But I do love the beach. I love like a nice beach where there's like nice soft sand, clear waters. Like there's something about it that is so romantic and so nice. Like I know it's a generic make fun of phrase to be like love long walks on the beach, but there's a reason that's a statement because long walks on the beach is so nice. Like barefoot when the sand's like not full of shells and stuff.
The sand is always full of shells and trash.
I think
probably syringes too.
But I think the further out you go, I think the beaches are nicer.
I think what you're talking about is the movie The Beach, where it's in some secluded area where no tourists
No, like
But
well, I've been to nice beaches. I don't know if you have, but like
maybe it's just the
you
beaches
go-
I've got to.
if
The
you go to
mainstream
because if you go
beaches.
to the beaches that are only like 20 minutes away or an hour away, they're like okay, but they're not great. But if you go to the beach that's like an hour and a half, 2 hours away and stuff like that, like more to the coast, they're like a lot nicer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was just trying to think about my own near-death experiences.
Do you have any? I have so many.
Jeez, you're really unlucky then. If you're having, well, lucky or unlucky, who knows? The only one that I recall was like the real life one. Is I remember like driving. Involves a car as well. Involves driving on I think it was just driving home, and it was on somewhat of a local road, 60 kilometers, and I was driving on the lane that's sort of closest to the lane on the right, which has opposing traffic. And I remember like I was just driving, and another car was driving coming on the side, but obviously it's lane, and then suddenly it like shifted and it came into my lane, and I then like swerved to the left, and we like essentially narrowly missed each other, like
That's so
the
scary.
swerving. And I remember like I was so lucky there was no one on the lane onto my left. So then when I swerved, I didn't like, have collateral damage with someone else. But yes, I remember that happening. And I think it was like on the way home from university. And then I remember telling my mum about it, and she's like, oh, and then that was it. And I was like having those sort of moments of self-reflections on life for that period. But that was the only thing that I've ever had as a near-death experience. And then mine, what I was saying, like real, like sort of near-death experience, and then sort of not well, I guess yeah, like not real are like dreams I have where I'm essentially being murdered or killed or choked. So I have like a lot of vivid dreams where, for example, I'm like trying to like escape from like a serial killer, and at the point when I wake up is when the serial killer like catches me and then like stabs me, and I can actually like, and then that's when I jolt out of my bed and wake up essentially. And that's happened quite a few times. It's a very vivid dream. It's a very intense dream of being chased around and trying to survive.
And that's reoccurring with the same serial killer?
No, different. One was like really strange. It was like a Hamburglar from McDonald's, the mascot. Like,
yes.
I had this dream that I was back in my primary school, in my primary school age self, like, and the whole school was just hiding from the Hamburglar who was doing God knows what to the kids, and we're hiding in shrubs and classrooms, and we're like having to move constantly, and like people in the group would sometimes disappear, but you're not sure whether because we just got broken out, like as in we sort of broke up because we had to like deviate from an area we're going to. And then what's another one I have? And then I've had those other sort of like out of body experiences where again, this is a dream, not sure, but I am essentially watching myself sleep, and I can see like a shadowy or a figure that is like engulfing my sleeping self, and I'm trying to wake up, but I can't.
I think that's called sleep paralysis.
Yes, I've had that.
That's very scary.
And when that's when I'm watching myself sleep, but I've also had a situation where I've essentially like I feel like I've woken up and my eyes are open and I can literally see the whole room, but my whole body is tight and I can see a shadowy figure again, like engulfing me, and I'm like, wake up, like get up, but I can't physically get up, like except the only thing that I can move is my eyes. I'm not sure. I know those aren't like actual, death experiences, but they're in the sort of, realm. And that again is another reoccurring. When I say reoccurring, like it happens like once every, I would say like a month. Those sorts of dreams.
So the internet says that sleep paralysis, so the formal definition is that it is when your body is temporarily unable to move or speak while waking up or falling asleep. It happens when your body is in the state between wakefulness and sleep, trying during rapid eye movement, so REM sleep, which is, I think, your deepest sleep. The stage where vivid dreaming normally occurs. The causes of sleep paralysis isn't known, but like fully known, and it can differ person to person. But some of the common reasons could be either you just have had disrupted sleep patterns. So an irregular sleep schedule can trigger it, like that sleep deprivation. I didn't say that word right, whatever. If you have a sleeping disorder, so it's literally like just something that happens.
Yeah.
Stress or anxiety in your life at that point in time.
Yeah.
Which is a common one for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Your sleeping position can sometimes trigger it. And substance, so like an external thing, so alcohol, drugs or whatever can trigger it, and just like mental health conditions as well, which could be related to your sleep disorder and stuff. But I think if it's not a disorder or illness, I think like the common one is either like lack of sleep in general, so your body's just like exhausted, or the stress and anxiety, which I think kind of makes sense, right?
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Well, they've become less frequent now, so maybe that's a good sign that my life is.
Maybe you're less stressed.
Yeah, less stress. Or I've always gotten good sleep. Like I haven't had trouble sleeping. I always thought it was because I love watching horror films.
Oh my
and I
God.
love watching horror films right before I sleep as well. I don't know why. I've stopped doing that now because now I get paranoid about it. But like
horrors in general.
Yes, I do, and I've always loved
Why?
watching horror films. I don't know. It's just the thrill, you know. I love the idea of getting scared, but then once I am scared from watching it, I'm like, oh, I don't like it. But then at that point, it's too late, you know, because I'm halfway done with the movie and I want to know what happens. But I always thought it was associated with me watching horrors at night, and so maybe like my mentality or the state of my mind was in that heightened sense, and so that was driving a lot of those vivid dreams. And also cheese. Have you heard the saying about like if you eat cheese before you sleep, you get nightmares?
No, is that like
I think I remember. I don't know whether it's a common saying. Maybe we can look it up actually. But I've always heard that saying, and so I used to eat cheese a lot. I love cheese in general, but I ate actually cheese to also trigger nightmares too. Because again, like being someone that likes horror films, and you know, increasing the heart rate, I kind of did it for my own sort of benefit. But then sometimes it just ended up being overly scary, particularly the one where I'm like, essentially, like you said, in sleep paralysis. But that's probably some what's that midwife? An old wives' tale.
I think, yeah, it is. So the internet's saying that there is no studies to kind of have that connection between cheese and
there is
sleep.
no study that's been done, or there have been studies and it's been proven wrong.
This is a quick search, so I can't read all of it in one go, but it's concluding that there is no connection, and they're saying it's mostly probably to do with just people making up stuff in the past, and it's probably more to do with like people trying to stop themselves from eating like high fatty foods before sleep. Because how many lies have your parents or adults have told you growing up that you thought were true, and then you realize it was a lie just to make you a better kid? Like my mom had a good one. She was like, you can't be loud after 7 p.m. No, after 6:30 p.m. every night. Otherwise, like some monster's going to come get you. It started off with just the whistling one. Just like you can't whistle after 6:30 or like any noise to do with whistling. So like playing your recorder or whatever like that, because you're going to trigger the snakes to come to you and like the monsters to come with you. So that I would like, and then like she expanded to just be very noisy in general. Like she's like loud noises. So then as a kid, I was so scared. Like 6:30 in the dark, I'm like, oh my God, I can't play my recorder anymore and I can't whistle anymore. So,
Yeah. Well, I mean, parents obviously white lies just to get their kids to behave. I mean, that's kind of the same with like Santa Claus and
Santa Claus is real. What are you talking about?
well, telling I'm not saying that, if you're not good, Santa Claus won't give you any gifts and you'll get a bag of was it coal?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know why coal, but coal is actually very useful. I mean, coal is used for electricity. It's used to barbecue food, so it's actually a pretty good gift for maybe an adult. I've heard like other really strange ones, not necessarily as a way to deter kids from doing naughty things, but I heard one where you shouldn't let like a reflection from a mirror or shining surface. You know how there's like glare sometimes when you have a shiny mirror on the light and then it sort of reflects onto the wall. Apparently, like you shouldn't like allow that reflection to sort of happen at nighttime because it's attracts like spirits and ghosts. Have you heard that one?
No, but I know there's a lot of mirror myths and legends like related, particularly at nighttime as well. Like you're not supposed to look in the mirror when it's dark as well.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
I think I do that.
Like we do it all the time.
Yeah, like if I have to go to the toilet or something, I'm washing my hands and stuff. That's scary though, actually, when you think about it.
Sorry for giving you all nightmares you just heard and now thought about that.
Because there was like some horror film around like using mirrors as the whole sort of urban legend and
like track like that's the teleport.
It's like it's like in the it's like the entry from the spirit realm or world. And
like
if you're a certain person that I don't know, you can get pulled in or something like that. Yeah, that was the one I heard. So then like every time, like that's why like I now instinctively like with my phone, like I always put it face down when I'm sleeping. Because I don't want like the shiny surface to, reflect some minuscule light and then, like next minute, Casper's appearing. Well, actually Casper's friendly, so that's fine. But some, horrid spirit. Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of that. I thought when you were talking about the mirror stuff and positioning and glare or whatever, I thought you were about to go into the, what's it called? Feng shui? Feng shui.
Oh, yeah.
What's it called? How do I say it? How do I pronounce it?
I don't know if that's feng shui or whether that. I always associate feng shui as like furniture and placement of things. But I have seen that like superstitious sort of this little mirror because we used to have it at our when I was living with my parents back when I was a kid, and we had like this tiny mirror, and we stuck it in front of the door, the front, which is obviously the front of the house. And the idea was that it deflected, bad luck to the other side. So bad luck for whoever was living across the road. Not just luck, but also like spirits and anything alike.
I think that's
anything
feng
evil,
shui, right?
Yeah, I think the feng shui is like maybe a more sort of broad concept around not just deterring bad luck and spirits, but also welcoming all the good energy. Because it might be to do with like the placement of furniture. Because one common thing is that like you don't put your bed in front of a mirror. It always has to be to the side. Like
this is what I mean. Mirrors are such a common theme for almost everything that I'm like convinced that it just blew up over time and like half of it's not true. Yeah, there's something about the mirror and there's also something about the door. Like the feet of the bed can't be directly parallel to the door or something like that. There's a lot of rules.
It's so hard now because like most new places are so small where a lot of the closets have mirrors in them, and then obviously there's doors, so you're kind of really limited around like where you can place the furniture without breaking the rules of feng shui.
Yeah. So for those who don't know what feng shui is, it might have originated, it's Chinese, right? So it's like an ancient Chinese practice that focus on like playing with the idea of like energy flowing in the air. So there's like positive and negative energy that's just always around. And then it's both like doing things to the individual and your surrounding environment. So by putting certain things in certain placements, you're helping flow like the energy that you want to flow a certain way so that you're like maximizing your luck and positive life and whatever. Like it's kind of like that belief.
Superstition.
So you're trying to create those balance. There's so many things. Like it's not just that, right? There's so many out there. Like the one around, you know what I'm really careful of not doing from like primary school?
Breaking mirrors?
Yes, but I just can't think of a scenario where you would proactively try to break a mirror anyways. The one that I like unconsciously I consciously try to do is not step on cracks in a path.
What?
You know that one,
Things
right?
are so now poorly built. There's like cracks everywhere. You cannot
and
avoid.
I literally skip over it because they say, like, there used to be this saying in primary school where they're like, step on a crack, break your mother's back.
Whoa. I think I did hear that.
Yeah. And then like
What a
people used to
line.
always say it. So like that stressed me out.
Why is it your mum's back and not your dad's back?
I don't know. Sexism. And then so I get so paranoid. Like I'm like, oh, it's easy for me not to step on a cracks. I just don't. I literally avoid it now.
Oh, how about the one where like if a black cat runs across the road when you're driving, you have to like go the other way and then find another route back to another route in your destination. Have you heard that one?
I just heard the generic, like if a black cat runs past you, then it's unlucky. But that one I 100% don't believe in because I've met a lot of black cats and they're very cute and adorable and not unlucky at all.
Okay.
So that one's the one that I'm not that thing. I used to be a bit paranoid about the one about opening up umbrellas and doors. And that,
yeah.
That one used to freak me out. But then I thought about it like long term and I was like, I think that's just people not wanting you to open umbrellas and doors. Like that's probably how the legend started because they're
Someone
like, it's
brought
annoying.
like a wet umbrella in and then they opened it.
Totally.
And then this person's like, now I have to mop this bloody floor.
Yeah.
The
'Cause
one that
okay.
I said the one that I believe in, is I actually do think the number 8 is very lucky. So I like to have the use of 8 in, whether it's license plates, driver's license plates. If you're fortunate to buy a house that has the number 8 in it, the more 8s in it, the better. 88, 888, or just counting things in 8. I find, I don't know. I don't know. I feel like things are gonna end well if it has some form of 8 on it.
That's interesting because I think different numbers in different cultures, like luck is associated to a different number depending on the culture. And I don't know what the whole origin thing is, but I like the number 8 for the same reason this anime character likes the number 8. There's an anime called Soul Eater, which is one of my favorite animes ever. And it's about, let me see if I can remember because it's been a few years since I watched it. But it's based in an academy of like these students training to like kill demons. So there's like evil souls in the world, that like the stronger the soul is, they can manifest into monsters and stuff like that. And these students, I forgot what they're called, but they kill those souls so that like they can pass on and stuff like that, and also so that they can not have monsters in the world and protect the people. Good characters. I don't think there's a strong storyline. I think there's a stronger storyline in the manga because the anime kind of went off script and then it ended quite poorly. But like it's just funny and lighthearted. But one of the characters, I think his name is Kid. He's obsessed with the number 8. But he's kind of like this comedy character where he's like a perfectionist, where he wants everything to be symmetrical, and he's like, the number 8 is the perfect number because no matter which way you cut it, it's always going to mirror itself. So he's like, it's the perfect symmetrical number. And I was like, oh my God, true. So I like the number 8 for the same reason He likes number 8 because I think that's a better reason to like a number because of how it physically looks.
Well, I just like it because of the associated with it. Maybe my life wouldn't have been as lucky if I didn't sort of purposely
Maybe.
choose things with the number 8 in it.
You never know,
Yeah.
right? All right, let's wrap things up then. We'll end with our dessert. So dessert is a little intentional moment that we take to appreciate the sweet moments in our lives. So practicing gratitude, it can be small, it can be big, it can be whatever. Something happened recently, something you just think of. Do you have anything?
What's happened that's been a highlight this week? Actually, this week's been like my least busy work week. Like major deliverables that were due in. So it was actually like very refreshing and somewhat had like I was a bit sort of lost to what to do for a few days because I was like, oh, it's really strange. I don't have anything like I had to urgently work on. So it was a very pleasant but unusual experience, which I am grateful for.
I think I'm grateful for. Is this going to sound a bit corny? But I just caught myself doing this the other day, like just for nature and how nice it is to be surrounded by it. So what happened is, it's just hit spring here, and I think what's happened is there was a few days where it was really warm, and then it was followed up with rain, which I think triggered a lot of like plants starting to bloom in preparation for spring. And then you forget how nice some of your plants are, or plants you walk past every day are, because they're not bloomed for a period of time because of winter and autumn and stuff like that. So there's such a long period where you forget, right? And then suddenly these flowers are starting to bloom on these plants, and it introduces like colors and really like nice shades of greens around what you're walking past. And there's just something really like comforting and warm about that. And I'm grateful for that because I literally caught myself the other day like staring way too long at it. And I just realized I was just really content like staring at something so simple. But I don't know. I guess I'm saying I appreciate nature, the warmth it brings, and I guess in a way the peace it can bring to you sometimes when you're taking that moment to appreciate it.
Nature is nice, especially like on those like slightly breezy days, and you can hear like the rustling of the trees and the leaves. It's very euphoric, peaceful. But then I'm also not an outdoor person, so that sort of lasts like 2 minutes, and then I'm like, all right, time to get back inside where I can pull the blinds down and live my my vampire lifestyle. Yeah.
And then meal prep goals or things we're looking forward to that's coming up. That's worth calling out.
Mine's a bit superficial, but I really actually need a haircut. And it's kind of been a little bit hot having this sort of mop of a mushroom head on. So I'm looking forward to getting a nice fresh cut for the spring season. So hopefully maybe in the next episode or the week after, I'll have a nice fresh cut for you all to stare at.
My thing to do coming up is it's spring, and I think I'm going to get into the spring cleaning mood. I have 2 things I want to kind of get done in the next few weeks. The first is to clear up my closet. I did this thing where I try not to buy new items unless I clear like items first so that there's room for it in my closet, and so I remember what I have so I actually wear it. That's something I'm starting because I used to hoard a lot. So I want to clean out my closet. And then the other thing I want to clean out is the fridge. I've accumulated a lot of like sauces and like dips and stuff that I've made or friends have made or family have made that they've given me. And I don't know what's old and what's new. So I'm going to clear them all so that I have space. And I'm also going to try to start a new habit where I'm going to go chef mode and start like dating them with like masking tape and stuff like that.
Yeah, that'll be good because I think like there was that one night I was about to go use the mayo and then I literally turned the mayo down to like try to, to squirt it. And then I just heard this giant plop, like a giant plop. And it was like the mayo had like
Separated.
not separated. It was one giant bulb, like blob.
Ew.
And I was like, thank God I didn't like squeeze it out because it would have ruined my meals. And then I looked at the date and it was like 2 years expired. So I was like, all right. So yes, I also support the review of the sauces in the fridge because I am a beneficiary of that. I don't want to be eating anything expired because I don't want to get sick.
It's amazing how much like expired goods are in people's homes. Like if you live in your home, it's shocking how much condiments and random things that you find that have been expired for years. You just gasp because there was dogs barking in the background.
Yeah. I think we have a very like affectionate but needy dog that is always needs to be with us. But during the podcast, we don't have him in the room. But he was literally like right at the door, and that's when he barked. That's why it kind of gave me a bit of a fright because it was so close. Yeah. I was going to say, I think I've been like fidgeting a little bit, but getting used to this microphone. So hopefully when people are watching this, they probably see me using it almost as like a wand. Like doing this a lot. Yeah. So hopefully that isn't distracting, but just trying to get used to this new setup still.
All right. Thanks so much for watching and tuning in. We thank you. We're grateful and we appreciate you. Bye for now.
See you later.